We'll get going. Firstly, welcome and thank you for joining PARiM's webinar on securing environments, geofencing, checkpoints and check calls. In terms of how the webinar will work, I have some initial slides outlining what each feature or functionality is, where it can be used and where it would be applicable and what you would use them for. Of course, the use of each of these can contribute to any part of the new Martin's Law legislation in terms of improving the protection security of a stadia or environment. Just to highlight that geofencing is in the premium plan and check calls and checkpoints are both modules. If any of you haven't used any of the modules, then it may be of interest that you get a free 30-day trial of these modules by subscribing at the back end of PARiM under the System Settings tab. I'll then briefly show you how each of these modules and features will work within the system, screenshots from our actual system, and if needs be, I can always log into my demo system and show you exactly how these things will work. And then finally, I'd like to start by thanking both Alo and Tanya. Alo will be on hand to answer any of your questions that you raise via the chat function. And Tanya has been a great help and support in producing this webinar. If you have any questions and you want a follow-up session, please just email support@parim.co.uk. Thank you. So if I just move slides, we're going to go through the agenda, key differences between geofencing, checkpoints and check calls, selecting the right solution for you, implementation steps, and then practical use cases. And then I'll go over to a different presentation where I can show you actual slides from within the system. In terms of an overview, definition, functions, and how to activate, geofencing, as I mentioned, is in the premium plan. It's location-based technology that creates a virtual boundary, allowing staff to clock in and clock out only within their designated area. So in practical terms, it means they have to switch on location settings on their phone. If they don't, the system will not let them clock in and clock out. And then even if they do turn that on, if they're outside of the geofence, it shouldn't let them clock in and clock out, so that you can be sure that if they are clocking in and they have started the timesheet, they're where they're supposed to be within the time boundaries or the acceptable time. And then in terms of how to activate it, we've got a setting within system settings underneath time and attendance, and you can activate it for clock in, for clock out, or the start and finish of break as well. So you can choose exactly how that feature works. In terms of checkpoints, these are physical checkpoints you can attach to, I guess, sites around a site, so that you can ensure someone is patrolling the site as you would like them to. So there are two types of checkpoint. There's the NFC tag. If you have NFC tags already, we can give you the spec and you might well be able to program them into your own existing solution. Then we also have iBeacons, which work on Bluetooth technology. They're a little bit, I guess, in advance of NFC tags, because the guard doesn't need to know where the iBeacon is, and if he moves within 1 meter, 4 meters, 10 meters or 20 meters, the iBeacon will pick up his phone automatically if he's got Bluetooth switched on, so that you'll know that he's doing the route on the patrol that you've asked him to do. And then finally, check calls. These are also called welfare or safety calls. So this makes the guard call into the system at regular intervals. Standardly, it would be an hour. You can allow flexibility, so 10 minutes before, 10 minutes after, but it will always be an hour. So if he does the check call 10 minutes early, his next check call will be an hour after that. It won't be an hour and 10 after that, because again, that's outside of the regular frequency of the check calls and the need. And the guard will know that he's got a check call shift on his app and his phone, so there's no worry about him not understanding what is expected of him. In terms of selecting the right solution, as I say, geofencing to ensure that people are where they're supposed to be, when they're supposed to be, within an agreed radius. And I will show you how you do that in the location itself. So you can tighten up the range at which you want to give them flexibility. So if it's a huge site, you might want to give them 500 meters, maybe 750 meters. But if it's a very small location, like a school or a canteen or a particular gate at a stadia, then you can tighten that down to 100 meters or even less if you need to. Check calls, it ensures the person is safe every hour. If they don't, there are 3 levels of escalation within the alarm policy tab within our system. It also is used frequently for overnight shifts, not only to make sure they're safe, but that they're awake. Obviously, if you're sat at a site on your own throughout the night, it can not be the most exciting thing in between patrols. So the check call ensures that the person does the check call. If he doesn't, the supervisor is told or the control room is told, so that they can ring and prompt him to say that he's safe and everything is okay still. And then again, checkpoints, if you're doing a large site at night, you come out of your guard hut, you go around, you hold your phone against the NFC tag, and then there's a report that shows you which checkpoints you've done and or checkpoints that you've missed, but I'll come on to that in a little bit. If you have any questions, as I say, please raise them through the chat with Alo, and he'll be more than happy to help. Thank you. I'll just now swap over to my other screen. Okay, so the first bit I mentioned was the setting of the acceptable geofence. Within every location, this is the location tab on your blue menu bar. As you go into a particular location, you have a set of settings down the right-hand side. One of them is allowed radius for checking. I have this set for 200 yards, but you can set the whole system to work in meters or kilometers or yards or miles. That's a choice thing, but you can alter this just by clicking on and alter it. And then once you've altered it and you go into the site, you can see the radius around within which they have to clock in and clock out. Otherwise, they can't start their timesheet. In terms of shift communication, just to make sure we're all on the same page with the apps, when the guard has a check call shift and he has to clock in, we've now added the ability to slide to clock in, because we noticed that there were a few issues with people double tacking the clock in button, and it would clock in and clock them out quickly because it didn't change color quickly enough. So you now slide to clock in, which has improved accuracy and reduced the number of errors. The guard can see whether there are notes on the shift. This would be highlighted in green, and what his check info is. He can also see any notes you've made or details about the location where he's doing, and he can see his information, how long he's been working and what his shift time is to be. If you are, and this is on the iPhone, but the Android is the same, if he tries to clock in and clock out outside of the radius, he is informed of the error that he's made. So if they say, oh, I don't know why it's not clocking and clocking out, that's not correct. The app will tell him this action is not allowed because you're too far away from the location you're supposed to be. And it even says he has to be within a certain number of yards or meters. So it keeps him appraised of exactly what's gone wrong and effectively what he needs to do to clock in and clock out. I just thought I'd highlight as well that on the phone, even if I haven't clocked in on this phone and I haven't put my password in on the phone, I'm getting push notifications to tell me I've got a new shift, I'm running late, there's a new shift available I can apply for. So the system is trying to help with your communication and help you get your shifts filled at the earliest opportunity, as well as giving the guards reminders of the shift, 24 hours, 12 hours, 15 minutes, 1 minute, and telling them there are new shifts available that he can apply for. So even before clocking in, the guard will be aware that it's a check-in shift. So it's saying he's got to check in, he's running a little bit late. So his next check-in is in 32 minutes. Again, he clocks in, this button becomes live when it's within the range of his allowed check-in. Again, he can see the location and he can tap on the shift to do the check call. During his shift and within the app, he can see how long his timesheet is. He can see when his next check-in is at all points during his shift. Again, the button has gone blue to allow him to do the check call. It won't let him do the check-in unless it's within the agreed time frame. In terms of checkpoints, as I say, you can use either NFC tags or iBeacons. You affix them to points around the site. The guard will know how many checkpoints there are. For you to set them up, you need to program them. And as a super admin on the app, you have a little menu option here called Add Checkpoints. You then scan the NFC tag or the iBeacon if you've got Bluetooth on, and you then configure the tag for PARiM. I would always also lock the tag so that it cannot be altered by anyone else. And then you affix it around the site. So you can sit in the office, program all of your tags, affix them around the site as you go around, and then you can test them by holding your phone. If you log in as a staff member with a route inside the shift, I'll show you how that happens in a minute, then you can scan each tag as you go around. So the idea in our system is that you would need to create routes. I have a site here that I've gone into. It's PARiM's old registered office, and I've got 3 routes that I can select from. And in each route, there are various tags that I've added into the route. So I've programmed the tags to this location. I can then add those tags into any or all of these routes. So here we have the 3 tags. These are Bluetooth beacons. I just created them randomly, and they're all within this one test route. And so when I go to give someone a shift at that location, what I would do is I've pre-selected all the information. It's a lot quicker to create shifts that way. I've given it to Aidan, and because it's got a route attached to that location, it asks me what route I would like to include in that shift. That will then be prompted to the member of staff, and he'll know how many checking or checkpoints he has to do within the route. So when he logs into his shift or clocks into his shift, it'll say 4 checkpoints, 0/4. So that means he's done 0 checkpoints at this point out of the 4 that he needs to do. In terms of reporting within PARiM, within the report sector, there's a specific report called Time Clock. Over on the right-hand side, you have a drop-down option called Any Problem. If you were looking to run a report on who's missed check calls, I would also emphasize to all of you that it's much simpler, much easier, and much more cost-effective for all of your guards to be using and doing the check calls using the app. What you don't want is them forgetting, getting a text or a phone call reminder, and then them ringing into the system because they're obviously Twilio costs. That's a cost to you and a cost to us. It's much more efficient if they use the app to do their check calls and their checkpoints. And you see, I can run a report on which check calls have been missed so that I can pull up my list of people that I just need to chase and remind them that they need to do the check calls using the app. Equally, I can come up with a list of missed checkpoints should I require that. And you can even now, under client settings within system settings here, you can even show your checkpoints to your client via the client portal. We have updated the client access recently, and there is a client app now, and the client can approve timesheets on his phone to speed up the whole process. And that's everything I've got for today. If you've got any questions, and Alo, you can point me in the direction of anything else I need to show or add, then please do. As I mentioned at the start, you can reach out to us at support@parim.co or support@parim.co.uk. Alo, if there's anything that I need to deal with, then he'll direct you to me. And then finally, we've got a guest in who's used the system for quite a long time, Tawfik from Cre8 Security. He uses checkpoints and geofencing. And Tawfik, if you just want to give us some examples of how you implemented it, the benefits that you have derived from using this, and perhaps how it's enhanced or value added your security offering to your clients.
Absolutely. Thank you, David. So yes, we implemented checkpoints and geofencing simply because we wanted to make sure that the officer was on site and making sure that he actually clocks in where he's supposed to be clocking in. The system actually helps us identify that because, like you said previously, you can actually see the arrow and it tells you where exactly he was pinpointed. Secondly, we implemented checkpoints because the client wanted us to make sure that the checks were done on certain units within the site. The only way for us to actually do this was to actually print off a report of PARiM and show this to the client. So what we had to do was put iBeacons in certain areas. We did not tell the guard, and every time they've gone to do their patrol, it would pick them up automatically through their Bluetooth, which was a plus point for us, because when they did miss something, our control room would give them a call to say, have you done your route port? It then highlights to us to say that yes, he has, and it was a plus point and a benefit for us for our control room to know that he's actually doing his job on time. The other thing that we actually inputted onto that system was actually check calls. So it allows the guard to do check calls on their app, which helped us a lot. The reason why we actually implemented this was because we've got a duty of care for our employees, and we have to make sure that they're awake, two, that they're safe, and three, they're actually doing their job. Now, whilst they are on duty, like you said previously, on their apps, it allows them to do a check call. When a check call is actually missed, it gives our control room team to give them a call and to check up on them to make sure that they're okay. It's a benefit for us, and it's as a duty of care, this is something that we need to do. I kindly emphasize this on all companies to kind of do this as well. I don't know where else I can actually add to this. The technologies and the features that PARiM has got, it's all there. I just hope people can actually use it. It's a beneficial for every company that's out there in terms of security and cleaning.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Tawfik.
No problem
Very
at all.
kind. Okay, we'll end the webinar now. As I say, please follow up with any questions or any clarification you require on the features, the functionality, or anything else relating to the modules or PARiM. Thank you very much.